A very good morning. You're watching the Breakfast News on Rajya Sabha television this Friday morning. I'm Aishwarya Kapoor and these are the headlines. Senior BJP leader and his brother shot dead by militants in Kishtwar in Jammu and Kashmir. Curfew imposed and army called out to maintain law and order. Home Minister assures justice. BJP chief Amit Shah calls it a cowardly act. Five people shot dead by suspected Alpha militants in Assam's Tinsukia. Ultras dressed in battle fatigue escape after firing at victims after calling them out of their homes. Home Minister asks Assam Chief Minister to take strict action against the perpetrators. The Chief Minister appeals to people to maintain peace. India and Botswana decide to enhance defence cooperation. Vice President Naidu expresses India's willingness to increase Indian technical and economic cooperation slots being extended to the African nation. Both the countries agreed to speed up work on establishing India-Africa Diamond Institute in Botswana following delegation-level talks. Prime Minister Modi to launch a support and outreach program for micro, small and medium enterprises today. 100-day program to cover 100 districts throughout the country. Several announcements on credit, access to market, among others, to be made. And Prime Minister Modi and US President Donald Trump discussed the trade issues between two countries during telephonic conversation. Negotiations on possible trade deal to resolve bilateral commerce issues. Trump also has long and very good talks with Chinese President Xi Jinping on escalating trade war between the two nations. Big story coming in from Jammu and Kashmir, where a senior BJP leader and his brother were shot dead by militants in Kishtwar in Jammu and Kashmir on Thursday night. The incident prompted the administration to impose a curfew and call out the army after people staged protests. BJP State Secretary Anil Parihar and his brother Ajit were returning home from their slooper when they were fired upon from a close range at a dark, narrow lane leading to their house. The assailants were apparently waiting for the brothers to return home and they used pistols to target them. They were rushed to a hospital where the doctors declared them brought dead. The killings of Parihar brothers drew severe condemnation from all quarters. And Home Minister Rajnath Singh expressed a shock and pain over the killings, saying that the police will leave no stone unturned to bring the perpetrators of crime to justice. BJP President Amit Shah said that the attack was a cowardly act that shames humanity. And in a tweet, former Chief Minister Omar Abdullah said that it was a very sad news and he offered condolences to the families of Parihar brothers.
This was a terrible incident. We have lost a great son of Mother India. We have lost the great sons of Mother India. We have lost the great leaders of Bharatiya Janata Party. Whole nation salutes the martyrdom of Shri Anil Pariharji and Shri Ajit Pariharji.
It's a very sad, dastardly incident. We all condemn this incident and express our sorrow on the sad incident. Violence has no place in a civilized society. Violence of any kind perpetrated by anybody, whoever it may be, has to be fought.
Meanwhile, one terrorist has been killed in an ongoing encounter in Handwara and Kupwara in Jammu and Kashmir. Several arms and ammunition have also been recovered from the slain terrorist during the encounter. Big story coming in from Assam, where 3 members of a family were among the 5 people shot dead by suspected Alpha gunmen, while 2 others were injured in Kheroni in Assam's Tinsukia district on Thursday night. A group of assailants with sophisticated weapons came to the village and called out 5 to 6 people from their houses, and then they opened indiscriminate fire upon them before fleeing under the cover of darkness. Now, police suspect the gunmen belonged to the Alpha Independent faction, as they were in the battle fatigue. And Chief Minister Sarbanand Sonowal condemned the killing of innocent people and assured a strong action against the perpetrators. He appealed to the people to maintain peace and harmony and directed all the deputy commissioners and SPs to remain alert. Meanwhile, Union Home Minister Rajnath Singh also spoke to Chief Minister Sarbanand Sonowal, and he took stock of the situation. He expressed deep anguish over the incident, saying that the strongest possible action will be taken against the perpetrators of the heinous crime. And on to news from Vice President's Africa visit. Vice President M. Venkaiah Naidu held bilateral talks with his Botswanian counterpart, Slumber Sogwane, on Thursday. Both the leaders acknowledged the historical and warm relations between the two countries and held extensive discussions on bilateral, multilateral and issues of mutual interest. The Botswana Vice President also said that the country is keen to join India's solar alliance to fulfill energy needs. Both the leaders also referred to the close defence cooperation between the two nations. The Vice President conveyed India's willingness to bear most of the expenditure, including salaries, in order to continue the support to Botswana's defence forces. Botswana also appreciated the assistance being given by India in capacity building, particularly under the Indian Technical and Economic Cooperation Programme, or the ITEC. Both the sides also strongly condemned terrorism in all its forms and manifestations as a global menace. An MOU between both the governments for waiving a visa for diplomatic passport holders was also signed.
The President referred to the stable democratic environment which Botswana provides and appreciated its important role in the context of the South African Development Community, the SADC. His Excellency, the Vice President of Botswana, Slumber Sogwane, warmly recalled India's contribution to the freedom struggle of many southern African nations, including Botswana. Both the leaders referred to the close defense cooperation between the two countries, particularly between 1978 till 2012, when Indian Army and Air Force training teams were stationed in Botswana. They agreed to enhance cooperation in defense and security. Botswana appreciated the assistance given by India in capacity building, particularly under ITEC. Botswana also announced their decision to join the International Solar Alliance. This is a very significant development and was welcomed by our side. We also expressed our happiness over Botswana's continuous support in the multilateral fora, reflecting the enduring spirit of friendship between the two countries.
And Vice President Venkaiah Naidu also interacted with the Indian community in Botswana on Thursday, and terming the Indian diaspora as India's cultural ambassadors. Venkaiah Naidu appreciated the aspirations and desires of the Indians living there for exuding vibrancy and dynamism. He praised the Indian diaspora for contributing to the economy of Botswana and also for integrating into its pluralistic, free and democratic society. The Vice President also said that India and Botswana trade has steadily improved over the last few years, and it registered a significant growth of 26%, bringing it to $1.75 billion.
I understand and appreciate the aspirations and desires of the Indian community, which exudes vibrancy and dynamism. The Indian diaspora in Botswana has not only well integrated into its pluralistic, free and democratic society, but also have immensely contributed to the economy of Botswana. I know that most of you are engaged in education, medicine, accounting, retail and manufacturing sectors and have been actively contributing to create local employment. By sheer perseverance, determination and adaptation, you have carved a niche and respect for yourselves and have endured both to Botswana and India alike. Your support to government of Botswana's socio-economic welfare and charity programs as well as active and enthusiastic involvement in the events of national importance has been greatly acknowledged and appreciated by both the people of Botswana and India.
On to the other top story. Prime Minister Narendra Modi will launch an MSME support and outreach program today. The outreach program will run for 100 days, covering 100 districts throughout the country. Various announcements and deliverables are focused on access to credit, access to market, hand-holding and facilitation support measures for the MSME sector are likely to be announced on this occasion. Various central ministers are likely to visit these districts in order to apprise the entrepreneurs about various facilities being extended to the MSME sector by the government and also financial institutions, and to come forward and make best use of these facilities, including access to credit and market. Meanwhile, US President Donald Trump has spoken to Prime Minister Narendra Modi and discussed trade issues between the two nations. This was informed by White House Chief Economic Advisor Larry Kudlow. Kudlow said that India and US are in talks, adding that India is a highly valued ally. However, he did not specify when did the telephonic conversation took place or the details thereof. And earlier on Saturday, Commerce and Industry Minister Suresh Prabhu had also said that India and the US have exchanged offers for a possible trade deal with a view to resolving issues related to bilateral commerce. India is pressing for an exemption from high duty imposed by the US on certain steel and aluminium products, resumption of export benefits to certain domestic goods under the Generalized System of Preferences, that is the GSP, as well as greater market access for its products from sectors including agriculture, automobile, auto components and engineering. And US President Donald Trump and Chinese President Xi Jinping on Thursday held a telephone conversation speaking of bilateral trade and the Korean Peninsula issue. The two leaders also agreed to meet bilaterally during the upcoming G20 summit in Argentina. The two leaders expressed optimism about resolving their bitter trade disputes ahead of the high-stakes meeting. In a tweet, the US president said that he had a long and a very good conversation with the Chinese leader with a very heavy emphasis on trade. He added that those discussions are moving along nicely ahead of the planned face-to-face meetings at the G20 summit in Argentina later this month. And Xi Jinping said that he hopes that both the countries will promote a healthy, stable development of bilateral ties in accordance with the important consensus reached between him and Donald Trump. Remember, commercial relations between the US and China have soared sharply in recent months after the US imposed tariffs on about half of Chinese imports, and that prompted China to respond with retaliatory levies, raising the prospect of a protracted trade war. Let's get you all the election-related news now. The full bench of Election Commission on Thursday held meetings with various stakeholders in Raipur to review the poll preparedness for the assembly elections in Chhattisgarh. A high-level team of the Election Commission, headed by Chief Election Commissioner O.P. Rawat, first had a meeting with the representatives of political parties and gave them the necessary guidance regarding the Model Code of Conduct, monitoring of election expenditure and other important issues. And they also sought suggestions from political parties for the smooth conduct of elections. During his visit to Raipur, the Commission also held meetings with the district returning officers, a superintendent of police of various districts and other senior officials to review the poll preparations. The CEC asked the election officials of the state to make the optimum use of the social media as well to motivate the youth to exercise their franchise. And today is the last day for nominations for the second phase of elections in Chhattisgarh. And nominations, remember, began on 26th of October for the second phase and the final phase elections with the issue of notification. Remember, 72 constituencies of the state will go to polls in the second phase on 20th of November. 18 Naxalism-hit constituencies will go to polls in the first phase on 12th of November. And the scrutiny of nominations for the second phase will be held tomorrow. And the last day of withdrawal of nominations is 5th of November. Meanwhile, nomination process for the single-phase elections in Madhya Pradesh will begin with the issue of notification today. Voting for the 230-member assembly will take place on 28th of November. And the last day for the filing of nominations is 9th of November. And the scrutiny will take place on 12th of November. Last day for the withdrawal of candidature is 14th of November. And also, the process of nominations will begin for the Mizoram Assembly polls with the issue of notification today. The 40-member Mizoram Assembly will go to polls on 28th of November. And the last day for filing nominations is 9th of November. Scrutiny will be held on 12th of November. And 14th November is the last day for the withdrawal of candidature. And in a bid to unite opposition parties against the BJP ahead of the general elections next year, TDP Chief Chandrababu Naidu met Congress President Rahul Gandhi in New Delhi on Thursday. And after the meeting, Rahul Gandhi said that the opposition parties will work together to defeat the BJP and raise issues like unemployment and corruption in the Rafale fighter jet deal. And earlier in the day, Naidu also met NCP Chief Sharad Pawar and National Conference President Farooq Abdullah. Pawar said that the non-BJP parties will develop a common minimum program to take on the government ahead of the 2019 general elections.
We have to defend the democracy in this country. We have to defend the institutions of this country. And we have to defend the future of this country. And so we are coming together, we're going to work together, and all opposition forces are going to work together to defend India.
It is a democratic compulsion now. We have to join together to protect this country.
And right now we'll take a very short break. News and updates continue on the other side as well. Stay tuned. Welcome back after the break. The Kerala government has signed a memorandum of understanding with the National Health Agency on Thursday for the implementation of the centre's flagship health insurance scheme, Ayushman Bharat. With Kerala signing the MOU, total of 33 states and union territories have now become a part of the scheme. Ayushman Bharat, the CEO, Indu Bhushan, tweeted about the development. Punjab, Delhi and Telangana are yet to join the scheme. The Ayushman Bharat CEO further said that more than 3.5 lakh beneficiary e-cards have been issued and 3.8 crore letters have been delivered or are on their way to the beneficiaries' doorsteps. The Ayushman Bharat scheme provides a coverage of 5 lakh rupees per family annually, benefiting more than 10.74 crore poor families for secondary and tertiary care hospitalization. And 4 High Court Chief Justices have been elevated to the Supreme Court within 48 hours of the Collegium recommending their names to the government. Their appointments were notified by the Law Ministry. They will be sworn in today. The Supreme Court Collegium, headed by Chief Justice Ranjan Gogoi, had recommended the names of Justices Hemant Gupta, Ajay Rastogi, M.R. Shah and R. Subhash Reddy for their elevation as Apex Court judges. Justice Gupta is currently the Chief Justice of the Madhya Pradesh High Court, while Justice Rastogi is the Chief Justice of Tripura High Court. Justice Shah is the incumbent Chief Justice of the Patna High Court, while Justice Reddy is the Chief Justice of the Gujarat High Court. The ministry also notified the appointment of acting Chief Justices in these high courts. And once the new judges take charge, the strength of the Supreme Court would rise to 28. At present, the Apex Court has 24 judges, including the Chief Justice, while its sanctioned strength is 31. And the Union Cabinet has approved a proposal to rename the Jharsuguda Airport in Odisha after eminent freedom fighter Veer Surendra Sai. The meeting, chaired by Prime Minister Narendra Modi, approved a renaming of the airport as Veer Surendra Sai Airport, Jharsuguda, and the renaming of the airport fulfills a long-pending demand of the Odisha government. The government also approved the signing of a Memorandum of Understanding between India and South Korea. The main objective of the MOU is to expand bilateral cooperation in the field of tourism. The Cabinet also approved the agreement between India and Morocco on mutual legal assistance in criminal matters. The agreement is aimed at increasing effectiveness in the investigation and prosecution. The Cabinet was also apprised of the MOU between India and Russia signed last month for the development of cooperation in transport education. The government has also given ex post facto approval for moving a resolution for the opening up of International Solar Alliance membership to all UN countries. ISA, remember, is an alliance of more than 121 countries initiated by India to work for effective exploitation of solar energy so as to reduce dependence on fossil fuels. And in a positive move for all the railway passengers, the Indian Railways launched the UTS mobile app nationwide on Thursday. And with this, booking unreserved tickets online will become an easy task as passengers will not have to wait in long queues to buy tickets at the railway stations. With the app, the passengers can also book long journey tickets and platform tickets. Take a look at this report.
No more waiting in long queues to buy an unreserved train ticket. With the nationwide launch of the UTS or Unreserved Ticketing System app, train tickets and even platform tickets can easily be booked through your smartphones.
कि मैंने अभी सोनीपत जाना है मुझे और मैं अभी रास्ते में आ ही रहा था, स्टेशन यहाँ से करीब 1 किलोमीटर दूर है, तो मैंने चलते चलते ही यूटीएस ऐप की मदद से अपना टिकट बुक कर लिया है। तो अब मुझे वहाँ जाकर लाइन का झंझट नहीं है, मुझे ये भी नहीं देखना है कि मेरी ट्रेन कितने बजे आएगी, मैं सीधा एंट्री करूँगा और प्लेटफॉर्म पर पहुँच जाऊँगा।
Starting the 1st of November, passengers can book railway tickets for all routes and platforms on their mobile phones. To use this app, passengers will have to register themselves on the app after downloading it on their smartphones. To register, passengers will have to provide details like name, date of birth, mobile phone number and choose a password. Then the passenger will receive an SMS with username and their assigned password. With this, the passenger will be able to book unreserved tickets, platform tickets and monthly passes. The app can also be used to buy tickets for travelling long distances. One passenger is allowed to book only 4 tickets at a time using the app. For booking a ticket through the app, the person needs to be 25 to 30 meters away from the railway station.
अभी जब इंटरनेट टिकटिंग काफ़ी फैल गया तो ऑलमोस्ट 68% ऑफ द रिजर्व टिकट्स लोग इंटरनेट के थ्रू करते हैं। उसी तरह से हम ये समझते हैं कि यूटीएस ऑन मोबाइल ऐप जब ज़्यादा प्रोलिफरेट हो जाएगा तो जो यूटीएस का टिकट है वो भी ज़्यादा से ज़्यादा लोग अपने स्मार्टफोन से खरीद पाएंगे।
Though the scheme was launched in select zones 4 years ago, it failed to catch on except in Mumbai, where the large number of people travelling in local trains proved to be behind its success. After Mumbai, it was started in Delhi, Palwal and Chennai city. In the last 4 years, there were around 45 lakh registered users of this app, with around 87,000 tickets being bought per day on an average.
Now waiting in long queues to book tickets at Indian railway station will soon be a thing of past, as railways had hoped that the unreserved ticketing system app will soon be a game changer in creating cashless, paperless and queue-free system of booking tickets in India. With video journalist D.K. Pandey, Anu Diwan for Rajya Sabha TV.
And the US has agreed to grant India a waiver from sanctions imposed on Iran. Media reports say that the move will allow Indian oil companies to continue to import about 1.25 million tons oil a month till March from Tehran. An official announcement is reportedly expected over the next few days. The reports add that the US plans to reimpose oil-related sanctions on Iran on 4th of November in order to pressurize it to renegotiate the new nuclear deal. The US is also insisting that it wants all the countries to reduce oil imports from Iran to zero eventually, but it said that it was open to country-specific waivers. India has agreed to cut its imports from Iran by a third. India imported about 22 million tons of crude oil from Iran in 2017-18, while it planned to raise about 30 million tons in 2018-19. However, as a condition of a waiver, Indian oil firms can import 1.25 million tons a month up to March 2019, the same as they ordered for October and November.
As far as the US is concerned, they are well aware about our expectations of the requirement which we have for oil domestically, and which is very critical for sustaining our economic growth. As I mentioned last time, we have taken note of the US position, which was conveyed by Secretary Pompeo, that the intention of imposing sanction on Iran is not to hurt India. We do want to engage, we will continue to engage with the US and other stakeholders to ensure that our energy security is not compromised, and also that our national interests are protected.
And cricket news now. India clinched the 5-match one-day international series 3-1, defeating West Indies by 9 wickets in the 5th and final match in Thiruvananthapuram on Thursday. And riding on Rohit Sharma's 63 of 56 balls, India achieved a 105-run victory target in 14.5 overs. Skipper Virat Kohli contributed 33. Earlier, batting first, the West Indies were all out for 104 runs. Left-arm spinner Ravindra Jadeja was adjudged the man of the match for his 4-wicket haul. Indian skipper Virat Kohli was adjudged man of the series. Well, time to wrap up this edition of news. But before we go, we'll leave you with this friendly bout between Sports Minister Rajya Singh Rathore and boxing champion Mary Kom. The two squared off at the Indira Gandhi Stadium in New Delhi. Take a look at this. I take your leave. Thanks for watching.